And there we go, 10,000 miles on the Ducati Multistrada V4S. There we have it, 10,000 miles. Yeehaw! Yes, indeed. 5 months, 10,000 miles on the Ducati Multistrada V4S. Yep, that didn't take long, did it? Well, this is perfect timing because the wind is kicking up because there's a big old thunderstorm heading this way, so I guess I better be quick. Hey, yeah, 10,000 miles with the Ducati Multistrada V4S. 5 months, 10,000 miles, 2,000 miles a month while maintaining a full-time job. And yeah, so anyway, couple things about this bike. Number one, I love the bike. It is a great bike. Would I buy it again? Well, that's debatable based on a few things, but right now what I can really tell you is that this bike is a fantastic bike. When they say multistrada, which means basically all roads with tutti strada, but this is multiple roads. So this is good for multiple roads. You can take it into twisties, which we're lacking here in Florida. There's a couple that we try to take advantage of. You can take it off-road, change the tires, put on spoke rims with big old knobbies, and this thing will go off-road. It's an adventure touring bike, so it's a little bit on the heavy side as far as the off-road is concerned. I still would prefer to take a dirt bike out in the dirt versus something like this. It's just not my thing, but for many of you, it really is your thing. Now, concerning this bike, a lot of positives. And there are only really 2 negatives to this bike. And the first one is the gas mileage. But you have to understand, and I've had plenty of videos about this, when it comes time for the gas mileage, this is something that it's a trade-off. You cannot have this power and responsiveness of a heavy bike like this and at the same time expect to get good gas mileage with a V4 engine. It's just really not going to happen. Now, if you have really good conditions and you're taking it easy on the throttle, you can push 40, you can sometimes get above 40. You know, that's about it. I've had at least 2 videos about this, and it's starting to rain, so we're going to continue this in a little bit. When we look at the rear tire, we have a lot of wear compared to when they're brand new. This particular piece that's cut into the tire has been reduced down to about 3/32 or 2 millimeters. Other parts of it, such as this, are about the same. When you go pretty much to the dead center, some of it is actually closer to 4/32 or around 3 millimeters, okay? Now, other components in the center are a lot deeper, okay? Look at areas like this that are not just off center. Areas like this are right now looking about 5 millimeters or about just under 7/32. So there's a lot of tread depth just to the outside. Here's components that are in the middle. If you look at this piece right here, all right, this one is coming in at about almost 4 millimeter, and that equates to about a little over 4/32 of an inch. So after 10,000 miles, I think the wear is actually pretty good on these rear tires. Looking at the front tire, the tread depth is actually pretty good. It's been running, when I test it, anywhere from about 4 to 5 millimeters, in that range, which is kind of in the yellow zone, or somewhere around 4 to 5/32 in that range. It really doesn't have as much wear as the back, but it is certainly wearing. Now, one of the things that I will tell you is that I have some cupping. Like right in here, I have cupping. This is very uneven in this particular spot, and there's cupping on both sides of the tire. So whether it's this side or this side, I definitely have some cupping, but the tire wear is certainly less than the rear, but I would not call it a 2-to-1. It has plenty of depth to keep it, but at this point, because of the cupping, when it's time to replace the rear, I'm probably going to do the front and the rear. Now, why it's cupping, I don't know. I don't feel any sort of vibration, and the bike is performing extremely well. So if you have any idea what's causing this cupping here and all over the place, and it's on both sides, comment below. Thank you. The rotors appear to be in pretty darn good shape. No problems here. And the wear appears to be normal for about 10,000 miles on the front rotors. The sprocket and chain appear to be in really good shape. I'm not seeing any significant wear. The chain is due for a cleaning and lubrication. It's actually not all that dirty, but because I have a lot of salt air around here, I'm starting to see a little bit of surface rust starting, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that. But other than that, 10,000 miles, sprocket and chain in the rear, looks pretty darn good. Well, I was going to get the touring windscreen, but I decided not to because this windscreen is actually perfectly fine. If I was riding in cold weather frequently, I would probably do two things. I would probably get different hand grips that have the windscreen on them, and I would probably get the larger touring windscreen. Because I'm in South Florida and it's very hot year-round, except for the wintertime. The wintertime we can get down to the 40s or 50s at night, and sometimes we have a day where we may not get out of the 50s or 60s, but that's pretty rare. I opted for the wind because this time of year, especially in the summertime, I keep this thing down as far as I could. It really rarely goes up at all because I need as much airflow on my helmet, not just the top, but also the face, so that I get some airflow in and around the chin. Now, keeping this thing clean is relatively easy, and the good part about it is that you only have to knock out these 4 screws to take it off and clean the windscreen on both sides. As you can see, it's sometimes difficult to get in here, and then maybe if you want to try to feed it through to the other side, and what's going to happen is you're never really going to, hold on a second, you're never really going to get a good cleaning. So this thing has to come off. Now the winglets could come off also, but it's a little trickier because when you want to take the winglets off, it's not just these 1 screws here, but they're also attached behind here. So that's something where it gets a little bit more involved, where I've actually taken this entire component off before. But with the winglets, you can easily fit in the top, and there's plenty of room to fit in behind to start wiping things down. Now this thing needs to be cleaned, but again, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, if I was up north and I was driving or somewhere in Europe where it was cold frequently, I would probably go with the touring windscreen. This does a good job, it just doesn't do a great job. And I don't know if they have any different size winglets to go with the touring screen to kind of knock a little bit more, because you do feel a lot of the wind, you know, on your arms. That is one thing that's for sure. But anyway, I'll be keeping this one with where I'm located. So the controls on this side work actually really well. The only complaint I have is that sometimes you think you're knocking off one thing, but you're actually knocking off another. So what'll happen is I'll press my thumb here against the menu selector, thinking that I've reset the turn signal. And again, and the same thing, sometimes I'll think I'm clicking on the menu, but I'm clicking on this. It's just still something you have to get used to. I'm getting better and better with it, but it's still something that comes up. The mode button, the whether you're going to use a Pillion rider, how you're going to set up is easy to reach. Some of these buttons here I don't use yet because there's still no radar in the United States, even though Ducati had put this on their website and advertised it and put it on their app saying that North America was approved. None of the dealers in the United States are currently turning on the radar for whatever reason, but we'll talk about that. Or maybe I already did talk about that. The up front here,
you have a low beam, high beam, and to flash your high beams. And then your, right up here, you have your hazards. Sorry for the delay in talking. I'm trying to remember what the hell I'm doing here. Anyway, and that's pretty much it on this side. Everything here is really easy, very ergonomic, and seems to work extremely well, except for a little bit of confusion between these two. And of course the horn, sometimes I would like, if these were reconfigured in a little better space, because you feel like you have to reach down for the horn, but I'd rather make an evasive maneuver rather than worrying about the horn. It's really not often that I use the horn. Now on to the right side. All right, a lot of work is being done here. Basically your throttle, your emergency kill switch, your start, your daytime running lights are selected here. And then all the way up here up front is where you have your heated grips. So your heated grips are turned on up front up here, okay? And it's all pretty good, easy to get to. I have no complaints about the right-hand side at all. It's all been easy to use with really no issues at all. Okay, about the engine and oil consumption. There's my oil gauge, and it is, when you do an oil change and you make the level perfect right where it's supposed to be at the upper line, after you run it, you'll find out that it's going to end up being higher than that. It was like that after they serviced it. It was like that after I serviced it. So at no point have I ever in 10,000 miles had to add any oil whatsoever. There has been literally zero oil consumption as far as I am aware. Now, if there's a minute amount which is expected, it hasn't been enough to actually show up and change the level down here in the sight glass. So as far as oil consumption after 10,000 miles, haven't had to add anything, but again, I did change the oil at the 5,000 mile mark. So there's another 5,000 since I've changed it, and I've had zero change in here at all. So oil consumption, zero. Can't complain. Well, let's talk about these mirrors. I have to tell you that these mirrors are excellent. The way that they set them up, the angle, the field of view that you have has worked out fantastic. The only thing that doesn't work with these mirrors are these little lights here. That's for the radar system that still isn't turned on yet after 5 months and 10,000 miles on this bike. And I'm in past the first week. I'm into the second week of July. For July 1st, they as in Ducati, said, hey, we're approved in North America, made a big deal, put it on their app, put it on their website, but the dealers still don't have this turned on yet. Now, the purpose of this light, when it does work, for those that actually have radar, like people in Europe, for example, but no one in the United States or Canada yet, when you have people coming up behind you, this light is supposed to flicker and flash and let you know that you have somebody coming up behind you. Kind of a warning with the rear-facing radar. But since I can't really talk about that after 10,000 miles, I'm just going to talk about the way that this is formed. I think it looks great. It gives me a great field of view. I use one mirror pretty much to look to the side, and it has a great view directly behind me, and the other mirror is kind of set up. My right one is for, you know, when you're passing, I have it more set up for on the outside. So this one I can see directly behind me and alongside, and the other mirror. But the mirrors work extremely well. Very happy with the mirrors. The bugs clean off of it pretty easily. They seem like a really high quality, and I have no complaints about the mirrors themselves. Yeah, Ducati. So one of the items that the bike comes with that I didn't use at all is it has this European, I believe it's a 12-volt plug here. I can't think of a reason to use it. There's one here, and there's actually one underneath the Pillion seat, so I guess you can run something out like that if you are in really cold gear and you have those insulated with the electric heaters you can plug in. It's European. I'd have to buy a adapter for it, and I'm afraid the adapter would stick out too far, so I just don't use it. It's there. For ease, it flips down, but I don't know what kind of weather protection it gives because it is upside down like that. I get it, but it's just, to me, for me personally, it's been useless. If you're in the EU, you have a perfect use for it. If you have a use that you can think of for it, I'm just concerned about whatever I plug into it is going to be wired through and right in front of the, you know, the triple clamp and everything else, and I just don't want wires hanging in there. So after 10,000, I have yet to use it at all. Hey, you know, the heck with it. Let me try to continue as long as I can while I'm actually getting rained on and this expensive camera equipment is getting rained on. So the number one negative is really going to be the gas mileage. If you're the person who really cares about the gas mileage and you want to go and be able to, you know, ride for 3 and 4 hours before you fill up again. I like to stop every 2 hours. That makes this bike perfect, okay? I can go upwards of 3 hours if I want to, depending upon how I'm treating my throttle right here. And that's the biggest probably drawback to this bike, because this bike has plenty of power. Now for some of you, and I've watched a review from someone, and he was very honest about it when he said the bike is just too powerful. It's just too much power for him. It's unusable power that he feels is unnecessary, so he's going with a different bike. Now, the next drawback is, it's really something that I've been bitching about, and it really grabbed the attention of Ducati, is the radar. I'm in North America, I'm in the United States, so the radar is still not turned on. All right, we are into the second week of, when is it? July. It was advertised, put on a Ducati website, put on my Ducati app, telling me that the radar has been approved in North America. I initially got a phone call from my dealer saying, hey, we're going to set you up to come in as soon as we get this settled in with the tools and everything and the equipment. And that has turned into, not one dealer is turning on anyone's radar in the United States, even though we're supposed to have it. So I'm 5 months into this with 10,000 miles, and I'm still not getting to enjoy the radar, which is the adaptive cruise control, which was looking forward to, very helpful. And really more important than that, this rear-facing radar that kind of lets you know when people are coming up on you and alongside you. I think that's something that's going to be very helpful. It's another rider aid, okay? And I like rider aids. I started riding motorcycles when I was 8 years old with a little Benelli 60. Graduated up throughout there. It's been a long time. I'm 56 years old now, where I'm going to be actually in a couple days. And I'll take all the rider aids you can give me. I've already proven myself. I know where I'm at. I know what I can ride. I'll take the rider aids all day long if it's going to keep things safer. And now a lot of people start talking about, well, it's going to make you complacent. No, you are going to allow yourself to be complacent. The rider aids are there to help you, all right? And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. The handling of this bike is fantastic. When we take this bike and we put it in sport mode, it's extremely responsive. It's not often that I put it in sport mode. There's really no reason for me to put it in sport mode, to be quite honest with you. Maybe if I start taking it to a track once I get the engine guards. Now, as far as the engine guards, this is part of this review. I did not buy the Ducati engine guards, and the reason why I didn't buy them is, number one, price. They're $600. Number two, when I went to go actually look at them and they brought some out of the box that I was potentially going to buy, the welds on those engine guards were atrocious. So whoever's doing the quality control, when you're going to charge $600 for just a set of engine guards, you better have good welding. And Ducati, whoever's making them, they have no quality control, all right? I've welded before. I'm not a great welder. I've never TIG welded, but whoever did this didn't do it much better than what I can do welding, and I'm not a good welder at all. So that's the downside, is that there aren't a lot of products out there in the aftermarket just yet. I did find a company in the United States that sells engine guards that are, I think they're made in Europe. I believe they're made in Germany, but they're black. They're like $350, $360. To me, that's perfect. It's a good price. I'll take it, and the black won't stand out as much as the silver. All right. The Pillion, I've had a couple people riding on the back of this, no complaints. One of the things that I was definitely told was that they are more comfortable without the side cases. So if you're looking at doing a lot of long distance touring with two people, I don't think this is the bike for this. If you're going to do some long distance touring, the person on the back is going to be more comfortable without the cases because this kind of bothers their legs. There's not a lot of space for them, so depending upon the angle, how tall they are, it may affect that, all right? But the bottom line is, you could comfortably put a Pillion on here. They have something to hold on to. They have pegs that come with the bike, and it is a very stable bike, even though it's tall, because it's an adventure tour, because we have all of this space underneath. One of the other things that I really like about this bike is this center stand that you see it on right now. This center stand is awesome. Have no complaints about the center stand. I think the center stand is definitely the way to go with this bike. It comes with it. It's very helpful when you want to lubricate your chain, clean your chain, look at your tires, check your tire pressure, because you can spin around and get to the perfect point. You can tilt it to the back and take weight off the front and spin the front tire if you need to. So this center stand comes in really handy, and Ducati recommends that if you're going to be using the bike, putting it on a side stand for short periods of time, it's okay to use a side stand, but if it's not short term, then you're going to want to put it on the center stand, which I absolutely love. We've talked multiple times about this. I have it in a video. But overall, the handling of the bike is absolutely fantastic. There really are no complaints on that end. The 4 different modes that we have to choose from, not 5 like I made the mistake about the other day, work really well, but I'm primarily in touring mode. I've put it in enduro mode when I had to take it out in the woods to test it out, which actually in enduro mode worked pretty darn well. I'm in South Florida. I hit some deep sand with these street tires. It didn't work really well. I didn't roll the bike, drop it, and I didn't get stuck. So even set up like this, it worked extremely well. So I was very happy as far as that's concerned. Now, in urban mode, that is like a beginner's mode. It could maybe be a, let's call it a rain mode. And it doesn't even really need to be a rain mode, but that mode right there will definitely smooth you into this bike if you haven't had an adventure bike before. I spend very little time other than to test it out, because the one thing I will tell you with the urban mode is that just a couple times that I've tried it, it significantly reduces the power, and it gives you a pretty even run as far as your throttle control. Now, one of the things that I really like about this bike is the fact that I can change the modes on the fly. Now you can't have the brake on, you should really have it in neutral. You have to kind of be coasting in order to do it, because it's going to want the throttle off in order to reset itself. All right, at the very least, the throttle has to be off. But the other component is that these modes are customizable, and that has come in handy because I have taken the touring mode and I've turned the Ducati wheelie control all the way down to number 1. The next step would be off. So I've really appreciated the fact that I can customize the suspension, the ride. I can set it up for automatic leveling, or I can choose that it's just me by myself, me and equipment in here, that I'm carrying baggage, me, Pillion, and baggage. So it works really well, and the automatic leveling seems to work probably the best. Unless you're going to go to a track, then maybe you might want to just put it in the sport mode and then make your minor adjustments from there once you get used to the bike. Now, the TFT display and the Ducati Connect, that leaves it leaves a lot to be desired, to be quite honest with you. Apple Play would have been a better choice. It is a usable system. You have to follow the sequence exactly, or it's not going to work, especially if you're going to try to combine it with like a Cardo or some other type of system. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for you because it's just not going to work. And there are times when you follow the sequence perfectly and it still doesn't work. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 times when you follow the sequence, it's going to work. It's going to work well. You can listen to your music. You can make phone calls. You can, you know, go get to a stoplight or a stop sign or pull over and access your contacts and use your phone, receive phone calls. It's not a problem, but it leaves some to be desired. The fact that they're forcing you to use Cigic. Cigic needs to improve. I love Waze. I can't use Waze unless I use it on my phone and put it right here. Now, I've already talked about this, and you're going to see some more video about this. I ended up using the RAM mount, but we'll talk about that in lieu of putting things in here because it just gets really damn hot. I've had videos where I talked about being careful when you're filling with gas that you don't overfill or splash it out because the gas is going to go right inside here. I have a video about that too. The tires are still good. Have a little bit of cupping in the front. You're going to see a little bit more detail about that. And I have some wear left on the rear tire after 10,000 miles with the hot Florida sun. The bike is smooth. The bike has plenty of power. The wind is good. It's adjustable with your left hand, you know, or right, either one, but unless you're on cruise control. In different positions, I can put it wherever I want it with these notches. Other than a motorcycle that has one that's automatic control, that's electronic, I've never seen another bike that has something that's easier to adjust in so many different positions than this one. When we compare this to the Pan American, which I test drove, this blows it away. Absolutely blows it away, hands down. The Pan American is probably one of the worst ones to have to actually utilize. I don't even know what they were thinking when they put that together, to be quite honest with you. This thing, however, is just fantastic. A little bit more detail about that coming up. But let me know what you want to know about this motorcycle. If you have any questions, comments, put them in the link below. So that's pretty much it. I've given you a lot of details, a lot of good information, a lot of close-up videos looking at things. It is a great bike. Please subscribe, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notified when new videos come out. I'm heading off for my birthday. I'm going to take a vacation. I'm heading to Italy. I'll be going through Bologna. Will not be stopping at the Ducati factory. I doubt that they're open, and I don't think any of the tours are running right now. That would be nice. But I'll be over there for about 10 days and going down to the south of Italy, not too far south, in the Molise section where my great-grandparents are from. I'm going to stay in a small little town there, San Giacomo degli Schiavoni in Molise. And I'm just going to basically do nothing. Maybe go to Termoli, go to the beach, and just relax. And that's about it. Please please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. This is Rimbo. Thank you, and have a good day.